Hello from Annapolis, where today Governor Larry Hogan began his second term in office. Tonight we will bring you the complete public inaugural ceremony, including the governor's inaugural address. We begin with MC Tom Riford.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tom Riford, and I am privileged to serve as your master of ceremonies for today's festivities. Inaugurations are representative of a very rich tradition that has distinguished American life since our country's inception. On behalf of Governor Hogan and Lieutenant Governor Rutherford, I would like to thank all of you for coming today and thank everyone who worked diligently to make this historic day happen. I'd especially like to extend a warm welcome and recognize Mr. Thomas Kelso, without whom today's ceremony would not be possible. Thank you, Tom. Folks, there are a few things that you need to know as we begin our program. Immediately following the swearing in of our governor, there will be a traditional 19-gun salute. Now, don't be alarmed, this is a good thing. And finally, at the conclusion of the ceremony, the governor and the lieutenant governor would be delighted to meet and receive each of you in the State House Rotunda. Now, let us get on with this program. I'm very pleased and honored to introduce to the podium the 6th County Executive of Montgomery County, Isaiah Ike Leggett, who provide all of you some words of welcome. Ike?
I'm honored to welcome you to the second inauguration of Governor Larry Hogan and Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford. This inauguration is not an ordinary event that simply reflects pageantry and celebratory honors on the governor and lieutenant governor, but it is the official recognition and acceptance of the will of the people of Maryland to bestow governance and official authority to lead this great state at the very highest level. It should not be taken lightly. Governor Hogan, by bestowing upon you and Lieutenant Governor and the Lieutenant Governor this great honor, the voters throughout the state are positively reaffirming their trust in your leadership. They're also saying that they believe in your willingness to continue to work across party lines. And, more importantly, they trust that you, along with the members of the General Assembly, will put aside party differences as you address the multitude of important issues impacting the lives of Marylanders in every corner of this great state. Our residents are tired of the bickering and the failures we experience daily from our nation's capital just a few miles south of where we are gathered. The federal government's closure is having a very harmful impact on the lives of Marylanders and many others around this great nation. I'm proud to say that despite the inability to effectively govern in some other jurisdictions around the nation, here in Maryland, under your leadership and that of the leaders of our General Assembly, we have avoided that problem. Now, my belief regarding the determination of who leads our state as governor and who hold other elected offices generally is that we should have our partisan competitive fights once every 4 years, instead of fighting with each other for that honor every year for 4 years. Governor Hogan, you're the only governor, your party, to be reelected to a consecutive term, and you garnered a record number of votes. That did not happen by accident. Your willingness to listen to the varied voices and concerns of all Marylanders is admired in virtually every demographic group of this state. And further, your willingness to work in partnership with those of us who had served in leadership positions at the local level is greatly admired. As County Executive of Montgomery County, I personally experienced your efforts to form bonds of cooperation across party lines as we work together on important issues like the Purple Line, Metro funding, Marriott headquarters relocation, and opioid addiction, just to name a few. As I reflect on my past role as president of the Maryland Association of Counties, I repeatedly heard many other local leaders across the state who expressed similar views regarding your leadership and that of members of your administration. I am convinced that those favorable characteristics of your leadership will continue to serve you and the citizens of this great state well throughout the next 4 years. Congratulations and welcome to this inauguration.
Thank you, Ike, for those remarks. Certainly a pleasure to have you here today in Annapolis. Ladies and gentlemen, at this time, please stand as the Annapolis City Police Department Honor Guard presents our colors. And please remain standing for the most highly acclaimed musical organization of the Naval Academy. They have achieved national prominence as one of America's premier choral ensembles. The group has performed extensively across America and internationally. The United States Naval Academy Men and Women's Glee Club performing the Star-Spangled Banner, our national anthem. Now, after which, today's invocation will be delivered by the Most Reverend Archbishop Laurie from the Archdiocese of Baltimore, and the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Governor Hogan and Mrs. Hogan's granddaughter, Daniela Velez. Please remain standing. Please remain standing after the pledge for the departure of the colors.
Let us pray. O Heavenly Father, source of all life and freedom and authority, We come before you in solemn prayer on this inauguration day of Lawrence J. Hogan, Jr., the 62nd governor of the state of Maryland, and Boyd Rutherford as the lieutenant governor. We thank you for the many blessings you've bestowed upon our state, from its shores to its mountains, to its farms, towns, and cities. We ask that you continue to watch over this free state, its citizens and leaders, now and for years to come. In your goodness, bless Governor Hogan as he begins a new term of office. Pour forth your blessings upon the governor and the lieutenant governor, as well as their wives and families, as now they continue their special service to our state of Maryland. Bless them with wisdom and courage and love as they take the prescribed oath and as they recommit to bearing the heavy responsibilities of our state's highest offices. Keep them always faithful to their solemn pledge and enable them in your love to bear true allegiance to the state of Maryland and its Constitution, and to do this by seeking the common good of all Maryland's citizens, and by joining hands with all our fellow citizens in the ongoing work of building a state that is a place of freedom, justice, and compassion to those most in need, especially the poor, the marginalized, and the unemployed. A state that cherishes and uses wisely the resources with which you have endowed our land. May Maryland, founded as a beacon of religious liberty and toleration, continue to uphold this most cherished freedom by welcoming in the public square the values that flow from authentic faith. Show us the path, Lord, to be builders of relationships in our state and communities, so that we might bring forth harmony from our diversity. Bless our governor as he seeks to create cooperation among government, business, service, and faith communities, so that together we may create opportunity for all of our citizens, especially our young people, so that they may fulfill their God-given potential in loving homes and families and effective schools. Lead us, Lord, in finding ways to build trust in our communities, to curb violence, to protect the homeless, the destitute, the infirm and elderly. We ask that you bestow upon our governor and legislators and all of those in government service an ever greater measure of understanding as they address the difficult problems that face us all. May they listen to one another and to the people they serve, forging solutions together in the spirit of mutual respect and collaboration, pursuing the common good. And most of all, Lord, give us this day joy and give us hope, that we may be preserved in union and in that peace the world cannot give. And after enjoying the blessings of this life, may we be admitted to those which are eternal. Grant this prayer, which we make in thy holy name, O Lord, you who are the source of all the good that we accomplish and reflect. Amen.
Ready on three. Ready? 1, 2, 3. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
right.
First of all, let's give a round of applause to the Naval Academy Glee Club for that resounding Star-Spangled Banner. Also, thank you, Archbishop Laurie, for those inspiring words on this very important day. Thank you also to Daniela for leading us all in the Pledge of Allegiance. We extend also a very special thank you to the Annapolis Police Department Honor Guard. To administer the oath of office to Maryland's Lieutenant Governor Boyd K. Rutherford, I am honored to introduce the Chief Judge of the Maryland Court of Appeals, Mary Ellen Barbera. At the conclusion of the swearing-in, America the Beautiful will be sung by Sergeant First Class Erin Betz of the Maryland Army National Guard.
I, Boyd Rutherford,
do swear
that I will support
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and that I will be faithful
and
and bear true allegiance
to
the state of Maryland
the state of Maryland
and support the Constitution
And-
and laws thereof,
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
and that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully, without partiality or prejudice, execute the office of Lieutenant Governor according to the Constitution and laws of this state, and that I will not, directly or indirectly, receive the profits or any part of the profits of any other office during the term of my acting as Lieutenant Governor. Congratulations.
Thank you.
We welcome to the podium Lauren and Kristen Rutherford, who will introduce their father, Lieutenant Governor Rutherford.
Hi, I'm Kristen Rutherford. And I'm Lauren. Thank you for being here today. Growing up, I've looked to my dad for guidance in many areas of my life. In school, he taught me to always stay ahead and stay busy. In work, he taught me to get there early, leave last, and try to anticipate what the boss will need next. In adulthood, he taught me to never leave the house without my keys and my ID. And he's even taught me a thing or two about humor. And I know that may surprise some of you, but my dad can crack a joke from time to time, even though it's usually at my expense. I hope one day to accomplish all that my father has, and all I want is to make my parents proud, but I'm proud to be his daughter every day.
We are, of course, very happy to be here this afternoon, but I don't think we could be nearly as happy as our dad. Our dad loves his job. He comes home excited to tell us about the schools he's visited, the people he's met, and everything that might be mundane but meaningful. And I should also mention, it is not lost on us that thanks to the Annapolis Sailors Triathlon that he completed, he's now the most in shape member of our family. And yet, through all of this, he has remained the same humble guy. The day after winning the 2014 election, around maybe 3 p.m., my dad called me downstairs, not to celebrate, but to meet him outside and help him rake the leaves. And that's our dad, even the day after the election. And these are the stories that don't get media attention, but capture exactly who our dad is, who he's been the last 4 years and his whole life. Hardworking, kind, and genuine.
And now, it is our honor to introduce our father, the Lieutenant Governor of the great state of Maryland, Boyd Kevin Rutherford.
Well, 4 years ago, my son made me cry, and they're making me blubber now. It is true that I said part of being an adult is leaving the house with your keys and your ID. But you don't, that's something that kids don't do when they're young. But I said, you gotta have the keys. And there have been a couple of times she's forgotten them. And so, but thank you very much, Lauren, Kristen. I am very proud of you, and I really appreciate that. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for being here. It's an incredible honor to stand here before you this afternoon as Governor Hogan and I embark on our second term as governor and lieutenant governor of this great state. 4 years ago, I stood here on this stage and also cried, but I spoke a little bit about the history of the office of the lieutenant governor. Somewhat mundane, as you all picked up on that, but meaningful fact that some folks may not know is that the office of lieutenant governor has only existed in Maryland in its current form since 1970. I talked a little bit about how previous administrations sometimes appeared as if there were two different administrations in the State House. And sometimes we had a lieutenant governor and a governor that had somewhat different goals and agendas. And I pledged that under our administrations, things were going to be different, that we would have a unified executive branch working together, serving all the people of Maryland. One staff on the second floor of our historic State House, working seamlessly to carry out the governor's vision, Governor Hogan's vision, for a more prosperous and a more just Maryland. And Maryland, where no one is limited by the circumstances of their birth or where our children would be free to go as far and at work that their work and talent would take them. And where no one would be forgotten, no matter if you live in Westminster or Wardolph, Fairmont Heights or Frostburg, Edmondson Village or Easton or Elkton, and that's exactly what we've done. It has been truly a humbling experience and the honor of a lifetime to serve the people of this great state side by side with my good friend and the most popular governor in America, Larry Hogan. Forget about that guy in Massachusetts. Don't worry about him. Governor, I am incredibly grateful for the confidence that you have shown in me and the responsibility with which you have entrusted me. Today, more than ever, I'm reminded of my favorite quote from President John F. Kennedy that I sometimes evoke when talking about public service. He spoke of going to the moon, and President Kennedy said, We choose to do this and other things, not because it's easy, but because it's hard. Because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone. And that is exactly what we have done in our administration, as I try to turn the page. Governor Hogan and I can say with confidence that we have not shied away from the things that are difficult, but we have taken them head on. Whether it was the opioid crisis or protecting health care coverage or improving the health of the Chesapeake Bay or gerrymandering, or those more mundane areas of procurement modernization and regulatory reform, we have tackled the state's challenges head on, working across the aisle and finding common sense solutions to the challenges that we face. And I look forward to continuing to work with all of you to solve those hard problems on behalf of all of our Maryland citizens, to build on the progress we have made over the last 4 years, to bring a new and better and more opportunities to the people of this great state, and to continue to change Maryland for the better. Thank you very much, and may God bless you.
Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Rutherford. We look forward to another 4 years of you as our Lieutenant Governor. And now it's my pleasure to present to you the Annapolis Symphony Orchestra's brass quartet to perform Maryland, My Maryland. On this special day, to administer the oath of office to Maryland's 62nd Governor, Lawrence J. Hogan, Jr., I once again welcome the Honorable Mary Ellen Barbera to the podium. Now, as a reminder, the swearing in will be followed immediately by honors with a 19-gun salute that honors our governor. The salute will be performed by soldiers from the Maryland Army National Guard. Now, immediately following that salute, look up to see our Maryland Air National Guard's 175th Wing's Finest, providing a flyover from the Warfield Air National Guard Base in Middle River. Maryland is home of the 175th.
I, Lawrence J. Hogan, Jr.,
Do swear
that
I will support the Constitution of the United States.
that I will support the Constitution of the United States,
And that I will be faithful
and that I will be faithful
and bear true allegiance
and bear true allegiance
to the state of Maryland.
to the state of Maryland,
And support the Constitution and laws thereof.
and support the Constitution and laws thereof,
And that I will,
and that I will,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
to the best of my skill and judgment,
diligently and faithfully,
without partiality or prejudice,
execute the office of governor
execute the office of governor
according to the Constitution
according to the Constitution
and laws of this state.
and laws of this state,
And that I will not,
and that I will not,
directly or indirectly,
directly or indirectly,
receive the profits
receive the profits
or any part of the profits
or any part of the profits
of any other office
of any other office
during the term of my acting as governor.
during the term of my acting as governor.
Congratulations, Governor Hogan.
Ladies and gentlemen, here they come from the 175th, 4 A-10s made in Maryland. To introduce Maryland's governor, I'm extremely delighted and honored to present a very special guest, the 43rd governor of the state of Florida, the Honorable John Ellis Bush. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeb Bush.
Thank you all very much. It is an incredible joy and honor for me to be here to commemorate and commence Governor Hogan's and Lieutenant Governor Rutherford's second term leading your great state of Maryland. When I left Miami this morning at 5 o'clock from my house, it was 65 degrees and sunny. I have to be honest, there are not a lot of people that I would leave paradise to come to honor, but Larry Hogan's at the top of the list. In fact, I'll tell you, watching Governor Hogan in his first term, the only thing I could fault him for is leaving my beloved Sunshine State after he graduated from Florida State University. He would have been a great governor of Florida. Larry's at the top of a list of leaders that I admire today because what's happening here in Annapolis is the antithesis of what's happening in Washington, D.C. these days. Washington's not just our nation's capital, it's also the capital of gridlock and dysfunction. And with the divided Congress, it doesn't look like things are going to get much better anytime soon. But life outside of D.C. isn't always that way. Outside D.C., good and interesting ideas and strong leadership still hold the power to repair and reinvigorate our institutions. Governor Hogan's first term is a testament to that. Maryland is fortunate because the role of governors is so key in this era of disruption and volatility. You see, governors have the power to reform, to innovate, to convene, to drive the conversation, and to problem solve. They balance budgets and are far more responsible for outcomes and accountable to their constituents much more than their federal counterparts. States, not the federal government, are the great laboratories of democracy in our country. You know, I believe that our politics is a reflection of our culture, not the other way around. And on the whole, our culture over the last years has eroded, has become coarsened in the last 2 decades, say. One way to define our culture is how we interact with one another. We all get about 100 to 1,000 different chances to do that each and every day. We have to ask ourselves, are we more humble or are we arrogant? Do we strive to be transparent and truthful even when it's inconvenient? Or do we lie and deny facts? Do we push people down to make ourselves look better, or do we lift other people up? Do we show courage in the face of adversity, or do we deflect blame onto others? People in public life have a disproportionate say in our culture because they're in the public square. They're seen. Their microphone is louder. Their Twitter feeds, I guess, is bigger and the like. And so they have a greater responsibility, I think, to turn our culture into a more loving place. And the reason why I think Larry Hogan, I don't know why he invited me, the reason why I accepted the invitation, is that I think Governor Larry Hogan is the best example in public life today, making efforts each and every day to less coarsen our culture, to make it stronger, more loving. And if we can do that, then all the problems of dysfunction in Washington, D.C. will matter not. Like your governor, I learned the cumulative effect of trying to do the small virtuous things right from my parents' example. And I know your governor has a good and righteous role model in his dad, just as I did with mine. His father instilled in Larry a desire to serve others, and man, oh man, he has served well. Larry embodies the kind of strong, independent leadership America needs now. Governor Hogan has built consensus, has sought common ground. He's reached across the aisle. He's done so with really good humor and a joyful attitude about life. He truly cares about people and is 100% focused each and every day on advancing policies to benefit all the citizens of Maryland. He's done this even as he's courageously battled his stage 3 cancer into remission. It's no surprise that Larry is one of the most popular governors in the country. I guess, Governor, he's the most popular. With this phenomenal example of leadership barely 30 miles from Washington, D.C., you'd think and hope leaders in our nation's capital would be paying more attention. Without further delay, it is my incredible honor to introduce your governor, the first Republican governor to win re-election since 1954, as he kicks off another phenomenal term as governor of the state of Maryland. Governor Larry Hogan.
Wow. Wow. Thank you all so much. Y'all look great out there. Thank you very, very much. Thank you. It is such an honor to be standing here at this historic State House where General George Washington resigned his commission as commander of the Continental Forces, and where the Revolutionary War ended with the Treaty of Paris. And it is truly humbling to be inaugurated for another term as only the second Republican to do so in the entire 243-year history of our state. I want to congratulate my friend and partner, Maryland's great Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford, and thank my beautiful wife, Yumi, who has been a wonderful First Lady for Maryland. I wouldn't be here today without the love and support of my entire family. President Miller, Speaker Bush, and all our distinguished guests, thank you for being here. Governor Bush, I'm honored by your presence here today. Your governorship was a model of leadership, and your entire family has been a shining example of public service. Last month, I had the privilege of attending the memorial services for your father, our 41st president, a true American hero who represented the very best of our nation. And throughout his remarkable life, he showed us the true meaning of honor, courage, integrity, and humility. And as I listened to your brother, our 43rd president, deliver his beautiful eulogy, I could not help but think back to just the year before when I lost my own dad, and I had the difficult job of delivering his eulogy. My father was proud to serve in Congress with George H.W. Bush. He served on the House Judiciary Committee during Watergate, as the whole world watched the impeachment proceedings. Despite tremendous political pressure, he put aside partisanship and answered the demands of his conscience to do what he thought was the right thing for the nation that he loved. Party loyalty, he said, and personal affection and precedents of the past must fall before the arbiter of men's actions, the law itself. No man, not even the President of the United States, is above the law. For our system of justice and our system of government to survive, we must pledge our highest allegiance to the strength of the law and not to the common frailties of man. With those words, my father became the first Republican to come out for the impeachment of President Richard Nixon. Now, that decision cost him dearly. He lost friends and supporters and his party's nomination for governor that year. But it earned him something more valuable, a quiet conscience and an honored place in history. I learned a lot about integrity and public service from my dad. I miss him a lot, especially today. And as I look out at all of you, the backdrop is of the beautiful dome of the United States Naval Academy Chapel, where I attended the funeral of another American hero, Senator John McCain, a man with passion, toughness, and tenacity. Senator McCain wasn't someone who would yield easily, but he never hesitated to reach across the aisle to get things done. And he always put his country before his party or himself. As we look back on the lives of these leaders, it makes us yearn for something better and more noble than the politics of today. For those of us who have been given the privilege of serving, we could offer those men no greater tribute than to follow their example. Back in January of 2015, I was humbled, eager, and frankly a little awed by the opportunity granted me by the people of Maryland to serve them as governor. And in the incredible 4 years that followed, there has not been a single day, good or bad, when I was not grateful for the privilege. Thank you, my fellow Marylanders, for giving me the most important work of my life. Because of the trust that you have placed in me, I pledge to you that I will keep giving this job everything I've got every single day that I am given. 4 years ago, I committed to usher in a new era of bipartisan cooperation and prosperity in Maryland, one filled with hope and optimism. I pledged to govern with civility and moderation, to avoid attempts to drive us to the extremes of either political party, and to uphold the virtues that are the basis of Maryland's history as a state of middle temperament. I believe it's because we kept that promise to put problem solving ahead of partisanship and compromise ahead of conflict that I'm standing here today. just as humbled and eager and awed as I was at the start of my first term. We have spent 4 years working together to unshackle the unlimited potential and promise of this great state. We debated, discussed, and reasoned together, honestly and productively, with integrity and sincere purpose. We argued without acrimony, negotiated without hidden agendas, and compromised without political posturing. We didn't demand Republican solutions or Democratic solutions. We sought out bipartisan, common sense solutions that worked for the people of Maryland. We didn't surrender our principles. We simply practiced the art of the possible, and we trusted Marylanders to appreciate the distinction. Do the right thing, and the politics will work itself out. That was our plan. We faced our fiscal challenges with steady resolve and eased the tax burden on hard-pressed Maryland families, retirees, and small businesses. We cleared away the tangle of regulatory undergrowth and paved the way for historic economic growth and record job creation. We funded education at historic levels to give our schools the resources needed to prepare our children for the opportunities of the future. We protected the health care coverage of Marylanders and provided lower insurance rates for the first time in a decade. We met our transportation challenges head on with historic investments in our infrastructure. And we practiced skilled stewardship of the environment, which resulted in a Chesapeake Bay that is cleaner than it has been in recorded history. Today, I ask my partners in the legislature to join in reaffirming our pledge to continue on this bold new path. Rather than engaging in mere rhetoric, let's continue to deliver real results for the people who sent us here. Let's keep putting people's priorities before partisan interests. Let's continue to tackle our common problems by accepting our shared responsibility to solve them. Let's repudiate the debilitating politics practiced elsewhere, including just down the road in Washington, where insults substitute for debate, recriminations for negotiation, and gridlock for compromise, where the heat, finger-pointing, and rancor suffocates the light, and the only result is divisiveness and dysfunction, where getting something done for the people no longer seems to be a priority. There's plenty of blame to go around. People on both sides of the aisle refuse to even give up even a little to get a lot done. And neither side really wants to make progress. They just want to make demands and win arguments. That's not governing. That's just political theater. And most of us are sick and tired of all that drama. Look, I'm willing to stand up and fight for the things that really matter, but not for status quo politics and not to perpetuate polarization and paralysis. I come from the get to work and get things done school of politics, and I'll work with anyone who wants to do the people's business. We all have enough worries, stress, and drama in our private lives, don't we? We might have a sick child or an elderly parent to care for, problems at work or in school, a spouse who lost a job, or a close friend who's hurting. Maybe we received a tough diagnosis, or recently lost someone we love. We all suffer enough challenges in our lives that give us plenty to worry about. You shouldn't have to obsess over or argue constantly about angry and divisive politics. You should be able to have confidence in the character and competence of the people you elect to office, regardless of their party affiliation. You should be able to trust that we'll do our best for you to solve our problems. Those of us blessed by your trust should give you a government that doesn't act as if it's something apart from you, but one that is of the people, by the people, and for the people. A government that appreciates that no one of us has all the answers or all the power. A government that tolerates contrary views among a diverse citizenry without making them into enemies or doubting their patriotism. A government that can discuss and debate with as much civility as passion, and with a view to persuade, not intimidate, to encourage, not demonize or defeat. That is exactly what we have succeeded in providing to the people of Maryland over the past 4 years. A humble, tolerant, respectful, and effective government that has worked together and found bipartisan common sense solutions. A government that took on the big problems and made things better for the people we serve. A government we could all be proud of. As I stand here today, I'm hopeful, and I have every confidence in our collective ability to continue giving Marylanders a state government that is just as decent, hardworking, and pragmatic as they are. Harry Truman once said, "Men make history, not the other way around." Progress occurs when courageous, skillful leaders seize the opportunity to change things for the better. It isn't always easy to put the public good ahead of personal and partisan interests. If it were, then leaders like George H.W. Bush, John McCain, and my dad would not have stood out from their contemporaries as much as they did. Those men had the wisdom to know that no success is more satisfying than living honorably and keeping faith with the people who gave you their trust. While the tenor of today's national politics may have strayed from the noble example they set, I still believe that what unites us is greater than that which divides us. And to those who say that our political system is too broken and can't be fixed, I would argue that we have already shown a better path forward. And if we can accomplish that here in Maryland, then there is no place in America where these very same principles cannot succeed. So, on this historic day, in this historic place, let us once again pledge to seek that middle ground where we can all stand together. Let's keep changing Maryland for the better, and let's continue setting an example for the rest of the nation. Thank you. God bless you. May God bless the great state of Maryland and the United States of America.
Thank you, Governor Hogan. And as I look out at this audience, I think that your message of constructive, equitable bipartisanship will resonate across this state for many years to come. Let's give him another round of applause, Governor. And now the benediction will be offered by Dr. Alvin C. Hathaway, Sr., who is the pastor of the Union Baptist Church.
The words of Harriet D. Automote. No vision and you perish, no ideal and you're lost. Your heart must ever cherish some faith at any cost, some hope, some dream to cling to, some rainbow in the sky, some melody to sing to, some service that is high. May Governor Larry Hogan and Lieutenant Governor Boyd Rutherford and this administration go forth from this place with the determination to make a difference, the decency to uplift humanity, the dedication to enhance the quality of life, and the diligence to do everything in decency and in order. Amen.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, as a reminder, the receiving line will form immediately after this ceremony inside in the State House Rotunda. I hope that you won't miss this unique opportunity to personally meet our governor and lieutenant governor. We are also honored that musical selections after the ceremony will be performed by the Maryland Defense Force Band and the 229th Maryland Army National Guard Band. Thank you all for coming, and enjoy the remainder of this great and historic day. Thank you all.
How you doing?
And that concludes our coverage of the inauguration of Governor Larry Hogan. We'll have a full wrap-up of all the week's news from Annapolis on MPT's State Circle program. That's Friday night at 7. Now, for all of us here at MPT, I'm Jeff Salkin. Thanks for watching.